So you're a senior manager, you're great at what you do, but maybe you're starting to feel like it's time for a change. You're looking at your options. But have you ever thought about looking up? Today, we're going to dive into some fantastic insights from Rob Kennedy's AvGeek in Residence series. And he makes this incredible case that for someone with your skills, the aviation industry isn't some crazy leap. Actually, it might just be the most logical next step you could take. Okay, let's just get straight to the heart of it, because this number changes everything. Here's the big takeaway from Rob Kennedy's work. If you're managing people in retail or a hospital or a warehouse, you already have 70 to 80% of the core skills that airlines are desperate for. Seriously, that's not a misprint. You're already most of the way there. And this question right here, this really gets to the core of it. What if the leadership experience you already have is your boarding pass into aviation? Think about that for a second. It completely reframes the whole idea. This isn't about throwing away your experience and starting from scratch. It's about realizing that all those years of leadership, that is your ticket. It's the most valuable thing you have. All right, so let's get into the specifics of that 70 to 80%. We're going to talk about skills that seamlessly transfer. And I think you're going to be surprised just how prepared you really are. Okay, so just look at this comparison. On the left, your world. On the right, the aviation world. You might think they're totally different, right? A retail headquarters versus an airline ops center. But think about it. A sudden supply chain crisis for your stores. That's the exact same problem-solving muscle you use when an airline has to deal with a grounded fleet because of a storm. The setting changes, but the core skills, crisis management, logistics, they are 100% the same. And then there are the so-called soft skills. Honestly, I think they're the hardest skills of all, and they're the ones that truly matter. Leading with a calm head when everything's on fire, you've done that. Mediating a fight between two high-stress teams? Check. Getting different departments to actually talk to each other? Yeah, you know that pain. And keeping morale up for a team that works 24/7? That's pure leadership. It has nothing to do with planes and everything to do with people. Okay, and what about the hard skills, the nuts and bolts? Well, take a look. If you've ever wrestled with a budget, you can do it for an airline. If you know supply chain management, you can manage parts for a fleet of 737s. Safety and compliance, that is the absolute bedrock of aviation. And hey, if you know your way around tools like SAP or Power BI, you're not just qualified, you're speaking their language from day one. So let me ask you this. How do you lead when your team meeting is spread across 3 continents and 4 different time zones? If you're sitting there thinking, well, I already do that, then congratulations. You've already cracked one of the biggest challenges in global aviation management. It's the same puzzle, just with different pieces. All right, so we've established you're about 80% of the way there. So what about that last 20%? This is the fun part, the industry-specific stuff. And trust me, it's not a giant mountain to climb. It's more like a small gap you can easily step over. And this is probably the question that's been in the back of your mind this whole time, right? Do I really need to go back to school for another degree? Ugh, the thought of that can just stop you dead in your tracks. But what if that's not even the right question to be asking? The answer is a big, resounding no. You do not need another 4-year degree. The smart play here is targeted, high-impact learning. We're talking about aviation-specific certificates from the absolute best in the business, like IATA, that's the International Air Transport Association, or online programs from a powerhouse like Embry-Riddle. These are designed to bolt that last 20% of knowledge right onto the skills you already have. And hey, you might be even closer than you realize. Have a look at this list. If you have your PMP certification or your Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, those are basically golden tickets. In an industry obsessed with efficiency and process, like aviation, those credentials translate perfectly. They see that on a resume and they know exactly what you bring to the table. Okay, so you've got the skills, you've got the certs. That's fantastic. But we all know that's only half the battle, right? Solid industry connections are absolutely essential. It's how you turn all that potential into a real opportunity. So where do you start? Right here. This is your networking starter kit. Seriously, pick 1 or 2 of these. Join groups like Women in Aviation International on LinkedIn. Look up when the next MRO America's trade show is. These aren't just organizations, they're communities. This is where you go to find your people and start making those crucial connections. Okay, we have to talk about the future. And you can't talk about the future of management in any field without talking about AI. But here's the thing, don't see it as something that's coming for your job. Instead, think of AI as your new co-pilot. It's a tool to make you even better. And let's be really clear about this. This quote says it all. Managers fluent in AI will replace those who aren't. That's not meant to scare you, it's just the reality. Being able to leverage AI isn't a bonus skill anymore. It's rapidly becoming a baseline requirement for being an effective leader. The time to get fluent is now. But look, getting fluent doesn't mean you need a PhD in computer science. It's way more straightforward than that. Just break it down into these 3 areas. 1, start playing with generative AI for your day-to-day work, drafting emails, summarizing reports. 2, learn how to read and interpret data visualizations. And 3, figure out where you can use simple automation to make your team's workflow more efficient. That's it. These are skills you can start building today. And this isn't some far-off future stuff. Airlines are deep into AI right now. They're using it to predict exactly when a specific part on a plane will need maintenance, before it breaks. They're using it to build incredibly complex crew schedules that save millions on fuel. So when you walk in the door with these skills, you're not just ready for the future, you're ready for right now. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground, so let's bring it all together. Here is your career takeoff checklist, a simple 4-step flight plan to get you from here to there. All right, you ready? Here it is. Step 1, map your skills. Literally sit down and write out all the management experience you have that we've talked about. Step 2, enroll in a course. Just pick one of those short aviation-specific certificates and get it on the calendar. Step 3, engage your network. Go on LinkedIn tonight and start connecting. And step 4, use AI to your advantage. Have it help you rewrite your resume to scream aviation leader. See? Simple, actionable. There's a line from the source material that just sums this up perfectly. You already know how to manage moving parts. Now you just get to manage them where they literally move. All that experience you've gained, it's all coming with you. The only thing changing is the view. So, that really brings us to the final question, doesn't it? The opportunity is real, the pathway is clear, and you are so much more prepared for this than you thought you were. So, are you ready to trade that cubicle for a control tower view?